Time to check in on Europe, where anger is building while politicians scapegoat. In a reprisal of Europe's traditional role, playing canary to America's coal mine, showing us what not to do, which we then proceed to do.
Several countries in Europe are seeing civil unrest as swarms of people have been taking to the streets to protest their respective governments' handling of inflation as prices continue to soar there.
We had two interesting speeches this week, one from a senior UK Treasury advisor, the other from European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde. First up, the Brit. In a tacky little speech, senior UK Treasury advisor Karen Ward, one of the most important Karens in Britain, lamented that the UK is headed for a recession because British workers have too much leverage, so their wages are too high. Not a joke. She pines for the days of the EU when they could just import millions of overseas workers and hold down wages. Today, tragically for Karen, British workers just get paid too much. Bottom line, your wages are the problem, the economic equivalent of a carbon footprint. Keep in mind, wages in the UK have actually lagged inflation by a quarter in the past 2 years, are now 3% short. That's about £1,000 per year. So UK workers are not even keeping up as it is, but that's still too much for Karen, who would like workers to take a fall so they can cancel out the inflation that the government printed up. By the way, she also endorsed a higher target for inflation, presumably 3%. I've mentioned how that campaign is in full swing here in the States as well, since central bankers would love to steal more from you in Britain as here at home. Who says they don't care about you? I've mentioned in recent videos how central bankers who create inflation for a living blame that inflation on everything under the sun, especially greedy workers. Well, sometimes they blame nothing, as when ECB head Lagarde herself recently said that inflation, quote, pretty much came out of nowhere. So trillions of money printing and pow, inflation out of the blue. But most of the time they do put names on their scapegoats, and their favorites are greedy workers, or depending who's in power, greedy businesses. A few months ago, that same ECB put out a tweet asking who's to blame for inflation. Is it greedy workers or greedy companies, as in the left-wingers or the right-wingers, and go fight each other. In reality, inflation is, as Milton Friedman put it, always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon, meaning central bankers, given they're the only ones who are supposed to print money, you can try that at home. Governments can make it worse, of course, by strangling production or taxing workers, but inflation isn't some natural disaster, some ghost that emerges from the machine, or some worker conspiracy. It is simply too much money chasing too few goods. So what is next? Both the UK and the EU are headed for recession for the same reason we are, panic hikes to cover up the inflation they dumped. The silver lining is that European governments are doing so badly that anger is building fast. The water is boiling and the frogs could jump sooner. Combine that with Europe's multi-party systems and flexible election calendars, and we can actually see populist parties start to gain power in Europe even sooner than in the US, at which point they will act as a beacon or a lighthouse for rising millions of Europeans who are becoming increasingly frustrated, hopeless, and angry. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.